Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn the attributes of data provider annotation. In my last video, I have explained what is data provider, how to use the data provider annotation and how to use data provider class annotation. But let's learn today what are the attributes of the data provider and how we can use it using the demo. So for today's our agenda is that we will learn the below attributes in data provider annotation with demo. The first attribute we will go to learn is name. Second, we will learn parallel. And the third one, we are going to learn about indices attribute. So these are the three attributes which we are going to learn today. So let's start with the first attribute, the name attribute in the data provider. So the name of the data provider. If it is not supplied, then the name of this data provider will automatically be set to the name of this method. So when we learned about the @test annotation attributes, we see that there are some default values for all the attributes, right? So in this case as well, if we don't provide any name to the data provider, then that will automatically set to the name of this method. Let's look at using demo. So this is our data provider which we have used in the in our last video. Okay, and in this data provider we have used this data provider class where I have took the three things: abc@xyz.com, def@xyz.com, and dhi@xy.com, and I am just using this to validate that the username ends with xyz.com or not. So these are the three data which we are using for our testing. So we will use the same data for today. So here, if you just see, this data provider is using the data provider method, and this data provider method is nothing but the name of this. If I just change it to data provider method 1 and run it, then it will not run a single test case. Okay, it says that requires a data provider name, data provider method and a class. Okay, but this data provider method does not exist in DP class because I have used data provider class as DP class. So it will look this data provider method in this class, and this is not present. But if I just change it to data provider method and run it, it will automatically run all the three test cases with the different test data. Now we learned about the name attribute. So what is name attribute? In the name attribute, you can write anything and you can just define that name to the @TestNG annotation. So let me write email address. Okay, I have written here email address, and now if I try to run this with the data provider method, let me just run it. So we see there is a same error. Okay, it does not run. Yeah, but in my last video it was successfully run because we have not used the name attribute. So it is by default taking the data provider method as a name. But when I use the name attribute, it is override by this email address value, and I have to use now this email address value. Now let me run this test case to show how it is running. So when I run this, we can see that all the three test cases with different data providers was successfully run, and for the two it was coming that these test cases are passed and the last one is failed, which is expected, and all the three test cases run where two passed and one failed. So it means the name attribute is working perfectly. We can just also look to the value of this, the name here, and when default is blank, it means that it will default the method name. If we have not provided anything, it will default the method name. So this is all about the name attribute in the data provider annotation. Now let's learn the another attribute in the data provider. Next is parallel attribute in data provider. So if we set parallel to true, the test generated using this data provider would run in parallel automatically, and the default value is false. So let's learn it using demo. So let me write here parallel is equals to true. Okay, and I have to do nothing in this case. If I have to run these test cases in parallel, just write the parallel equals to true. By default, the value of parallel is false. By default, it is false. So when we try to run these test cases, the test cases will run in parallel. So it automatically runs in parallel. But I can see that we cannot figure it out whether it runs in parallel or not using the console, because everything is running so so fast. So let me copy the Chrome code to just show you that how it would work. So I just added a Chrome driver which will launch and it will quit the driver. So first of all, I'm just removing this parallel attribute and run it without it and see what is the result. So when I run it, it will launch the first Chrome browser, then it will close, and then it will launch the second Chrome browser, then it will launch the last Chrome browser, because there are 3 data providers, and then our test cases are running perfectly. The 3 test cases were run, 2 pass and 1 failed. Okay, the failure reason is only this assertion failure. Okay, now let me run it using parallel attribute. I just write parallel equals to true and let me run it. Okay, so when I run, you can see there were 3 Chrome driver instances were launched automatically. It means that the test cases are running using parallel. Okay, so in this way you can run the data provider annotation in parallel. Okay, now let me show you that if you would like to learn this using testng.xml file, how you can run with the parallel attribute. So I just write challenge to use multiple data, and parallel attribute was added with the true value. Let's learn it and see. Yeah, let me run it. TestNG suite. So it automatically launches 3 Chrome browsers. Yeah. Now, so next is what is indices attribute in data provider. So if you would like to run a specific set of data from the data provider, you can use this. So what about this? Let me go back to the demo section and run it. So yeah, so let me go to this DP class and in this class, suppose I would like to run these 2 set data and I don't want to run this set data. So what I can do, I can just comment down this line, and yeah, in this way I know that only my 2 test cases will run. Okay, I'm just commenting, removing this, because this code would not help us to understand more about the indices attribute. So let's make it easy, because that is required only for the parallel attribute to understand it better. So let me run it and see. So when I run, the 2 test cases were run successfully and 2 were passed and 0 was failed, because we have removed the failure condition code data from this data provider. But suppose if we don't comment this, okay, let me just go back in the similar condition. If we don't comment it, and if we would like to run only for these 2 test data providers, then we can use indices is equals to it's a array. So you can just write down in this way. Let me write 0, 1. So what it will do, it will take it that this we have to run 2 data providers which having an index of 0 and 1. So let me run it and show how it is working. So see, only the 2 data provider test would run, def@xyz.com and abc@xyz.com. Suppose if I would like to run only the last data provider, then what I can use, I can write the 2. It means it will run the second index. So 0, 1 and 2. So see, this was failed because ghi@xy.com does not match with xyz.com. So in this case, you can use this indices attribute. So indices attribute would like to run a specific set of data from the data provider, then you can use this. So that's all about today. Thank you everyone. If you have any questions, please write in a comment section. I will help you. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to make YouTube Baba happy. Thank you everyone.